From the lightning-fast tracks that crushed Poland in 1939 to the monstrous, gas-guzzling behemoths defending the ruins of Berlin in 1945, the German motor pool was a mix of engineering genius and logistical madness. The Wehrmacht started the war with tiny, lightly armored training tanks and looted trucks. But as the conflict evolved into a brutal war of attrition, their machines mutated. They built tanks that were virtually indestructible from the front, tank destroyers that could hide in plain sight, and half-tracks that defined the very concept of mechanized infantry. Some were precision instruments of war. Others were desperate, over-engineered failures that broke down before they even reached the battlefield. In this video, we break down every vehicle used by Germany in World War II. Part 2, the core breakdown, the long list. Let's begin with battle tanks, the Panzers. Panzer I. Originally designed as a training vehicle, this tiny tank was pressed into combat during the invasion of Poland. Weighing only 6 tons, it was armed with just 2 machine guns. It had no anti-tank capability, and its armor was so thin that heavy rifle fire could punch through it. It was a stopgap measure that relied entirely on speed and numbers. The next one, Panzer II. The backbone of the early Blitzkrieg. Slightly larger than the Panzer I, it featured a 20. While it could tear through light vehicles and infantry, it was hopelessly outclassed by French and British tanks. However, its reliable chassis later became the foundation for successful artillery platforms like the. Up next, Panzer 38T. A Czech-designed tank seized by Germany after the annexation of Czechoslovakia. Known for its high-quality riveted construction and reliable engine, it was actually superior to the early German tanks. Its 37-gun packed a decent punch in 1940, and German crews prized it for its mechanical reliability. Now this is the Panzer III. Designed as Germany's primary tank fighter. It utilized a 3-man turret, which was a revolutionary layout that allowed the commander to focus on tactics rather than loading the gun. While its 37 and later 50 guns eventually struggled against Soviet T-34s, it set the standard for how medium tanks should be organized. Moving on to the Panzer IV. The true workhorse of the Wehrmacht. This was the only German tank to remain in production throughout the entire war. Starting as an infantry support tank with a short barrel, it was constantly up-gunned and up-armored. By 1944, armed with a long 75 gun, it was capable of taking on almost any Allied tank. The next one, Panzer V Panther. Built as a direct response to the Soviet T-34. The Panther featured thick sloped armor, wide tracks for mud, and a high-velocity 75 gun that had immense penetration power. Despite early mechanical fires and teething issues, it is widely regarded as the best medium tank design of the war, balancing mobility, firepower, and protection. Up next, Panzer VI Tiger I. The legend. Weighing in at 60 tons, this boxy fortress terrified Allied crews. Its thick vertical armor was nearly impervious to standard Allied guns, and its 88 K36 gun could kill a Sherman from over a mile away. However, it was slow, drank fuel like water, and was a maintenance nightmare. Finishing the tanks with the Panzer VI, B King Tiger. Also known as the Tiger II. This was a massive 75-ton beast combining the thick armor of a heavy tank with the sloped design of the Panther. While it was arguably the most powerful tank of the war, its sheer weight destroyed bridges and strained its own transmission, often causing it to be abandoned by its crews. Next on the list is tank destroyers and assault guns. By removing the turret from the Panzer III chassis, Germany created the GIII. With its extremely low profile, it was an ambush predator perfect for hiding in hedgerows. It became the most produced German armored fighting vehicle of the war, destroying more enemy tanks than the Tigers and Panthers combined. The next one, 38T. Small, angular, and deadly. Built on the reliable Czech 38T chassis, the featured sharply sloped armor that deflected shells despite being relatively thin. It was a cost-effective solution for a crumbling empire, giving infantry units a mobile anti-tank gun that was hard to spot. Up next, IV. Nicknamed StuG due to its nose-heavy wobble. This low-profile hunter carried the powerful long-barreled 75 gun of the Panther. It was a defensive specialist, capable of holding off waves of Allied armor while remaining hidden in the tree line. Now this is the series II and III. A desperate improvisation. Germany took obsolete tank chassis, like the Panzer II and 38T, and bolted heavy anti-tank guns on top. These were open-topped vehicles, leaving the crew exposed to shrapnel and weather, but they provided crucial mobile firepower on the Eastern Front. Moving on to the meaning rhinoceros. This was essentially a long 88mm gun mounted on a light chassis. It had paper-thin armor, offering zero protection against anything heavier than a machine gun. It relied entirely on its ability to snipe enemy tanks from extreme distances before being seen. The next one, often cited as the best tank destroyer of the war. It married the excellent Panther chassis with the lethal 88mm gun. Fast, well-armored, and hitting like a sledgehammer, it was the perfect balance of speed and firepower. Up next, Ferdinand. Built on rejected Tiger hulls, this was a sluggish 65-ton bunker buster. It used a unique petrol-electric drive system. While nearly indestructible from the front, early versions lacked a machine gun, making them vulnerable to infantry swarming tactics at Kursk. Finishing this section with the heaviest armored fighting vehicle to ever see service. Weighing 79 tons, it carried a massive 128mm gun that could tear a turret off an enemy tank. However, it was a logistical nightmare. Most broke down or ran out of fuel before they could ever fire a shot. Now let's look at self-propelled artillery. Bison. An early experiment. Engineers mounted a heavy 150mm infantry gun on a tiny Panzer I chassis. It was comically top-heavy and overloaded the engine, but it proved that mobile heavy artillery was valuable in the early campaigns. The next one, meaning Wasp. This successful conversion turned the obsolete Panzer II into a light artillery piece. Fast and mobile, it could shoot and scoot, keeping pace with the Panzer divisions to provide immediate fire support. Up next, meaning Bumblebee. This vehicle carried a heavy 150mm howitzer on a hybrid chassis. It delivered devastating indirect fire support, but had limited ammunition storage, requiring dedicated supply trucks to follow it constantly. Now this is a rare beast built on the Tiger I chassis. It looked like a moving bunker. It fired a massive 380mm rocket-propelled depth charge designed to demolish entire city blocks or reinforced bunkers with a single shot during urban combat. Continuing with half-tracks and prime movers. Sd.251. Known as this iconic half-track was the battle taxi of with its sloped armor and off-road capability, it allowed infantry to keep up with the tanks and deploy safely into the heat of battle, protected from small arms fire. The next one, Sd.250. A smaller cousin to this shortened half-track was used primarily for reconnaissance and command roles. Its compact size made it agile, allowing scout teams to sneak forward, spot the enemy, and retreat quickly. Up next, Sd.7. An 8-ton medium prime mover. This half-track was the unsung hero of the German artillery. It was responsible for towing the famous 88mm flak gun and carrying its crew. Without these vehicles, the heavy guns would have been stuck in the mud. Now this is the Sd.9. The heavy lifter. This massive half-track was designed to recover damaged tanks. As German tanks got heavier, it often took 2 or 3 chained together just to pull a stuck Tiger tank out of the Russian mud. The next one, Sd.2. A unique hybrid of a motorcycle and a tracked vehicle. Originally designed for paratroopers to be dropped from planes, it found fame in the mud of the Eastern Front. It could tow light guns and navigate dense forests that stopped trucks cold. Finishing this section with the meaning mule. Faced with the deep Russian mud that trapped wheeled trucks, engineers replaced the rear wheels of standard trucks with Panzer tracks. This improvisation became a logistical lifeline for the freezing troops on the Eastern Front. Next on the list is armored cars and recon. Sd.222. A light 4-wheeled scout car. It featured an angled armored body and a small open-top turret with a 20mm cannon. Fast and agile on roads, it was the eyes and ears of the reconnaissance battalions early in the war. The next one, Sd.234-2 Puma. Arguably the best armored car of the war. This eight-wheeled vehicle combined high speed, a fully enclosed turret, and a potent 50 tank gun. It could outfight most Allied recon vehicles with ease and had a second driver's seat facing backward for rapid escapes. Up next, Est-231 8-Rad. A heavy eight-wheeled armored car with a complex suspension system that allowed it to cross rough terrain. Its distinct antenna frame on the roof, on command versions, made it a mobile communications hub for coordinating Panzer movements. Moving on to logistics and utility vehicles. Blitz, the legendary 3-ton cargo truck. Recognizable by its lightning bolt logo, this was the primary truck of the Wehrmacht. Reliable and simple to fix, it carried everything from ammunition to troops, forming the backbone of German supply lines. The next one, VW. Germany's answer to the Jeep. Designed by Ferdinand, this lightweight, bucket-seated car was air-cooled and rear-wheel drive. While it lacked the 4x4 capability of the American Jeep, its light weight allowed it to be lifted out of mud by its crew. Up next, VW. The most mass-produced amphibious car in history. Building on the design, it featured a bathtub-style hull and a drop-down propeller at the rear. It could cross rivers and muddy bogs that stopped other vehicles dead. Now this is the 1500A, a rugged, air-cooled heavy staff car produced in Austria. It was favored by officers and commanders for its reliability in extreme climates, particularly in the scorching heat of North Africa and the freezing cold of Russia. The next one, BMW R75. A heavy motorcycle designed specifically for the military. It featured a driven sidecar wheel, effectively making it a tricycle with two-wheel drive. It was a durable workhorse for dispatch riders and reconnaissance units navigating the ruined roads of Europe. Finishing off with the Goliath tracked mine. Designated Est-302-303. This tiny, remote-controlled vehicle carried a high-explosive charge. Engineered to be driven under enemy tanks or into bunkers, it was often disabled when small arms fire cut its control wire, but it remains one of the most unique kamikaze robots of the war. Part 3, the outro. From the nimble motorcycles of the dispatch riders to the terrifying roar of the King Tiger, the German vehicle arsenal was vast and varied. They pushed the boundaries of technology, often building machines that were too advanced and too complex for their own good. Looking at this list, which vehicle do you think was the most effective for its role? The reliable Panzer IV or the fearsome Tiger? Let us know in the comments below. This is USGI Archives. Subscribe for more.